It may be America's largest endless supply of energy anywhere, including Alaska. Nobody really knows for sure. It's the Uinta Basin of eastern Utah. It is a rich resource for coal, for oil, and for natural gas. And there are many companies who are very interested in exploring that region and tapping into those great resources that they don't even know how to fully calculate. The only problem is that there's no stability in the regulations, and they're not sure whether the investments they make and the risks they take will pay off. Here with a report is Malia Bascom.
Hi, I'm Malia Bascom. I'm here in front of Newfield Production Rig number 2. They're drilling for oil. Do you have any idea how much that hole in the ground could bring in? If they find what they're looking for, it could bring in $700 to $800 million, which will come back to the state of Utah in the form of royalties, which benefits our school kids.
That being the case, working towards more natural gas and oil drilling would seem like a no-brainer to many Utah residents. There are other factors on the table, however, mainly environmental concerns that give pause in order to determine what impacts oil and gas extraction have on an area. The balance between protection and resource removal has become more of a battle in the past few years, however, as leases have become more difficult to acquire.
For oil and gas development, we begin with a resource management plan. That is a planning document that talks about what's going to happen on the BLM lands over the next 15 or 20 years. So you have that general guide that talks about what's going to happen.
That Resource Management Plan, or RMP, was the culmination of 7 years of planning both on the local and federal level. Once approved, however, the current administration stated that the plans were rushed through at the last minute, and in February of 2009, Interior Secretary Ken Salazar canceled 77 gas and oil leases that had already been sold to energy developers. Since then, leases for oil and gas in Utah have been far fewer than what has been the historic average.
The leases have become very difficult. We were recently informed by BLM that likely there would be 100 applications approved for the coming year. Compare that back to a couple of years ago where we had 12 or 1,300.
And the APDs that are being approved by the BLM are less all the time. They can't get the drilling permits they need. They're not at all sympathetic to the industry in that their excuse for not giving them new permits is that, well, you've got permits you're not using.
In buying the lease, first of all, you have to acquire a number of leases so that you have a physical area to work with. Obviously, you don't want to drill just in a very small lease block and be successful, and someone else owns all the land around it. So you have to have a fairly large block of ground that if you do drill and are successful, that you can go ahead and drill in the future.
And so if BLM is saying, well, until you drill all the dry holes where they know they're not going to be able to get gas and oil out of, how much sense does that make?
I really believe that it isn't the environment against the economy or the economy against the environment. It is both the economy and the environment working together. And I believe that Utah and its various constituencies are ready for that type of conversation.
Even so, many communities who rely on oil and gas extraction for economic viability find themselves in a vulnerable position, as do urban areas who draw cheap energy from rural Utah.
People care about their natural gas heating bills coming in under $200 a month during the winter. They care about gasoline being under $3.
If emerging federal policy ramps down energy production, what will be the new economic engine that drives rural Utah? There are options.
We do need energy for America. As we move forward into the future, the opportunity that I see is renewable energy. Utah is poised to do wind renewable energy, solar renewable energy, and geothermal renewable energy.
There's other incentives as well that I believe are really important. I was just reading a report from not only the hotel industry, but just the tourism industry in the state of Utah. And over the last 5-6 years, growth has been about 10.5% in that industry. That means that equals jobs in the state of Utah, about 11,000 more jobs just in the last 5 years. So industry of tourism, industry of this type of lands is a really important, I believe, component of our economic health in the state of Utah.
out in our area, 50 to 60% of our economy is based upon the extractive industry in eastern Utah and in the basin. So it is a very important part of our segment, taking nothing away from recreation. It is an important portion of what we do. But for those that would say, well, just get rid of oil and gas and turn this into a recreation economy, that will not get it done in Uintah County. It won't get it done in the basin. It won't get it done in eastern Utah.
While many questions remain regarding the future of Utah oil and gas leases and what will happen with the resource management plans, everyone seems to agree on two things. The environment in these areas needs to be protected and reclaimed to the best ability of energy companies, and whatever impact is felt from the slowdown in oil and gas extraction, whether positive or negative, will be shared by every resident of the state.
And the thing that the public probably doesn't realize, this takes years to build the infrastructure and the investment. We don't want to get to that point, because then we are going to be in big trouble.
Remember the adage, what's good for General Motors is good for America? Well, the same can be said of energy development. Utah's economy needs energy development, and America's economy needs Utah's energy. For the county seat, I'm Malia Bascom.
Thank you, Malia, for that report. We are going to continue our discussion with growing restrictions on energy development in the Uintah Basin and really other places around the state. Joining us will be representatives from the Uintah Basin county governments, from Duchesne County, from Uintah County, and representatives of the oil and gas industry. Stay with us. We'll be back for the debate here on the county seat in just a minute.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uintah Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
What do you picture when you hear Rich County, Utah? Winter adventure? Snowmobile action? Pristine skiing? Spectacular solitude? Well, if that isn't what first came to mind, then you just don't know Rich County. Snowmobiling Monte Cristo, ice fishing Bear Lake, skiing the backcountry. Come and find out what you never knew you were missing. Rich County, Utah.